I did my research in my paper on the Apostolic Fathers, which is also known as the Didache. So the summary of the Didache. The Didache served as an introduction to the faith for all non-Jews. And so the Apostolic Fathers really tried to set forth a code of conduct, and this code is manifested in the Ten Commandments. So they explained how the Ten Commandments were essential to a Christian life and how one must really adhere to these to pursue a good Christian life in the correct manner. The second thing that the Apostolic Fathers touched upon was prayer, and prayer was explained to be another central theme to a good Christian life. The apostles touch upon how one must partake in prayer in a certain manner and how he or she has to say certain things. And finally, the Eucharist is explained to be extremely important to a good Christian life. So the apostles really stress that there are two ways in life, and one is the way of life, and the second is the way of death. The way of life is basically the adherence to the Ten Commandments, to their moral code that they set forth throughout the course of the text. One must be devout, live a life of prayer, accept the Eucharist in the correct manner, and really not commit sin. The way of death is the denial of the commandments and the adherence to a sinful life, to sinful activity. So it's through a commitment of sin, through a commitment to sinning, to sins such as greed, avarice, lust, paganism. So the Ten Commandments, to touch upon certain commandments that they spoke on, the apostles write, "First you shall love God who made you. Second, love thy neighbor as yourself." So through this, the reader can infer that the apostles really want the followers of Christ to be very loving people and to not let anything interfere with their love of their neighbor, and to really treat people how they would like to be treated themselves. Additionally, they touch upon the Christian notion of forgiveness. They write, "Pray for your enemies and fast for those who persecute you. For what credit is it for you to love those who love you? Do not even the Gentiles do the same?" So once more, they're talking about that you have to love everyone, even your enemy, as hard as it is. And finally, the apostles speak on giving and generosity. They write, "If someone takes your cloak, give him your tunic also." And they continue and write, "Give to everyone who asks you, and do not demand it back." So through this, one can really understand the importance of generosity and giving and donation in the Christian religion, and this is very important to somebody who's new to the faith, because this is a very central theme to the Christian faith. The commandments continued, so the apostles continue writing, "You shall not murder, you shall not commit adultery," and these are some of the sins that can lead one to living the way of death, which is ultimately denying God. And so they basically preach to the people to flee from an evil of every kind, and these evils are evidently all the sins that one may commit on a daily basis. So baptism is an extremely important part of Christianity. One cannot participate in the Christian church without being baptized. So the apostles touch upon the importance of baptism when they write, "Baptized in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, in running water." Additionally, the apostles state that the one who is to be baptized must fast 2 days prior to the baptism, and the person conducting the baptism, which is most likely a priest, must do the same. Prayer, once more, is an extremely important part of the Christian religion. The apostles write that Christians should not pray like the hypocrites, that they should instead pray in the manner that God has told them to pray. So this way of praying is known as the Lord's Prayer, also known as the Our Father. And through this prayer, Christians thank God for their daily blessings and ask for the remission of their transgressions. The Eucharist is the Holy Communion, so it's the body and blood of Christ. It's when one becomes one with Christ. The apostles inform the reader that only those baptized in the church are able to partake in the Eucharist. So they even use the quote, "Do not give what is holy to the dogs." So the dogs in this case are those who aren't baptized into the Christian church. So they aren't qualified to accept the Holy Eucharist. And so they state that after the Eucharist, one is to give thanks for the Eucharist, and that's through a set of prayers also explained in the Didache. So the historical context. So during this time, the Didache was said to have been written sometime around 70 AD. And prior to that, the Pax Romana existed, so that's from 27 AD in the time of Augustus to the time of Marcus Aurelius. In 66 AD, there were Jewish revolts. The Roman Empire sent Cestius Gallus, who was the legate of Syria, and he went into Judea and tried to really suppress these revolts through excessive force, using armies and vast artilleries of weapons. Gallus died in 67 AD, leaving Vespasian, prior to him being emperor, and his son Titus to take over the suppression of this revolt. So throughout this revolt, there were many Jewish deaths. The Jews were really adamant about becoming free from the empire because of heavy temple taxes. They were given very debilitating taxes, which resulted in them attacking Roman citizens. And so the temple was destroyed, which was the central part of their, which is where they really worshipped. And it was a very big part of their community and resulted in a lot of attacks on Roman citizens. So overall, after the Jewish revolts, historians claim that the Jews experienced the highest death toll they have since the Holocaust, next to the Holocaust. And so, opinion. So I believe that this document serves as an excellent method of introducing non-Christians into the faith. It really sets forth a good moral code for the non-believers to come in and become believers. They really know what they're getting into. The apostles lay out the Ten Commandments in a way that is very understandable. The language isn't very difficult to comprehend for the non-believers. It enables the reader to understand the mandates of God, like I previously said, and the consequences are described, which is very important because the apostles are laying out what the rules and the code of Christianity is through the Ten Commandments, but at the same time they're also bringing forth what can be a potential outcome of denial of the commandments. So that's obviously the message found in their explanation of the way of death. And the language in the text is overall very applicable to a larger audience. In terms of the sins that are mentioned throughout the course of the text, lust, greed, avarice, those are all things that those were all sins that people were committing back then, and they're also sins people are committing today. So this text is completely timeless and very applicable to a large audience. And now in terms of contemporary relevance, there are many benefits and dangers to technology. So I chose to touch upon technology and how children are at risk of accessing corrupting media on the internet. Children these days are given iPads as soon as they can speak. As soon as they get into their teens, they may be accessing certain websites that are not in accord with Christian doctrine. So now children are able to really access this corrupting media more than ever. So I sought out a text that would really touch upon this, and I found The Power Failure, Christianity and the Culture of Technology by Dr. Albert Borgman from the University of Montana. Borgman really touches upon how how technology can be very effective in the progression of human development, meaning that technology can bring forth new medicine, can bring innovation that allows us to really maximize our potential. But on the other hand, he also claims that there are many dangers of technology. And he does touch upon the fact that children are able to access corrupting media. However, he really emphasizes on the fact that technology can dehumanize a person. He writes, "Technology is the systematic eradication of profound poverty, and it is just that success that gives rise to advanced poverty. It is the accomplishment of unquestionable comfort and security that has all but paralyzed our capacity to help and to be helped, and so to have part in the fullness of life." So, a close dissection of this excerpt from his book can really reveal that Boardman is bringing forth the notion that technology can dehumanize us because it takes away our interpersonal capacity. So, as humans, we need to really conduct in daily conversation in a variety of different things in life to really be human. And the Ten Commandments claim that you should love your neighbor, you should love your enemy, and you should forgive and give and donate. And one can't do that from behind a computer screen. So technology, in essence, can cause people to really live in a closed sphere and not really leave that sphere. And that's what is dehumanizing about technology. So overall, the Didache served as a really great introduction to the faith for non-believers, and it brought forth a lot of important and powerful language that is timeless and is applicable to a larger audience today. Boardman's text also touches upon very central themes to popular culture today, and he also contrasts it with the Ten Commandments, which is very interesting, as he touches upon how technology is dehumanizing and how technology could lead to the loss of mankind's humanity in general and overall. Thank you, and that's it.